How's it going, guys? Right now you're watching some random gameplay, even though I should be showing you some of the Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer footage in the background, but I don't feel like getting any copyright strikes or anything like that. But anyway, I'm going to be talking about the Red Dead Redemption 2. Some of the few people actually got an opportunity, a chance of going to a Rockstar North and pretty much seeing Red Dead Redemption 2 for the first time. They got to see the demo of the 45 minutes length, and one of them is the mission counter, pretty much the interrogations, robbing, the hunting, a lot of that. So let's begin. First things first, obviously the appearance, the quality, how everything looks like spectacularly, it is impressive, as they have mentioned. Now, obviously, the lighting, rays, effects, shadows, the particle effects, everything in there, the water, the systems, the engine itself, obviously, it's very beautiful. The wildlife of it, it's phenomenal, as they have said it and said it many times again and again. I'm probably gonna keep on saying it. So, other things I want to get into, basically the counters of, coming into a new town, perhaps, maybe, and perhaps you have a whole gun on your back and you don't have anything drawn out, so you're gonna get a lot more respect, or simply just a cold shoulder and completely ignore you. And other ways you can actually come into this town is pretty much have a gun right in your hands. You're about to do some bad things perhaps in this town. There quite a few people might get intimidated by it, by others might actually see as a competition, and some people will be more frightened, some, like I mentioned, will see as a competition. And there's different types of interactions from the people you can get. It depends on how you are going to come in as. There's also a choice for you to make in some of the civilians. Basically, you can come up to them, intimidate, you can kill them, or whatever you want to do, you can do. In fact, you can rob them. So basically, you go up to them, up to the wall, and you don't even have to intimidate them with a weapon right in their face or something like that. But instead, you're the outlaw, and you can show it. And basically, you can rob them. You kind of have to predict if they're actually a wimp or not. Or maybe what if there could be a badass, and you kind of might have made a little bit of a decision. And what if it's sheriff, but just in disguise or something like that? Obviously sheriff in town, they wouldn't be in disguise, but whatever. Basically, maybe he never had that badge on for that day, perhaps, and you just go and try to intimidate him or rob him. And yeah, you're gonna be some for a treat of pretty much a gunfight. Now, talking about something else as well, there was a mission, or some kind of side mission, perhaps some kind of encounter again. Basically, one of the places you go into a fisherman's home, and you pretty much looting a whole place. You can take all these stuff, and one of the moments the dog started barking, and every time, at first you probably most likely would ignore him, and so the dog barks more and more and more, and next minute you see through the bushes the dog comes in, and also the fisherman, because the fisherman wasn't here at first, but it attracted his attention due to the dog being very loud, so to say. So basically, first things first, they have not mentioned that what if you could just kind of escape, but they have mentioned that for example, you could come out there and just say, mind your own business, I'm doing my own thing here, get out of my way. Perhaps one of the things, maybe you can kill him, or you just leave him alive. He's a fisherman, he's not gonna go up to you and start fighting or shooting at you. Some people might, but the fisherman, I guess this fella, he has not shown any intimidations to Arthur Morgan. So obviously, what if there could be some, consequences as well? For example, the fisherman could go and try to put a bounty on your head or something like that, right? Or maybe he could be very happy for that because you pretty much, spared his life. I also really like the parts when you can intimidate, fellas, and basically never even, drawing out your weaponry. For example, as I mentioned there, a fisherman, like, he's pretty much of a wimp, and you can keep on intimidating him, and at one point he could just give you all the stuff, and pretty much obviously for free. But anyway, you give him he gives you everything, you take it, or you can just completely leave him alone and go on to your own business, and you tell him, leave me alone, for example. And yeah, it's all up to you, your decisions to make. There's also a possibility, for example, what if you have a bounty, perhaps, and people can see that, so you could come up and into the town, people will treat you with more respect, because you know, you can do some things that people just don't want. For example, shoot them or something. Like I mentioned before, there might be also some competitions. Some people actually would want to take that bounty for themselves. Some need cash. And, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot more difficulty and going around, but also a lot more people will be afraid of you. Also, let's talk about the gang and also the camp. So at some point has been explained that when you're in a camp, basically you live and breathe down there, and you can have encounters, and there's like a little community over there of your own gang, as I mentioned. So people you can pretty much trust, well, hopefully. Anyway, basically, you do your own thing. You're Dutch's right-hand man. So these people are your responsibility as well, right? They're semi your responsibility anyway. It's pretty much Dutch's decisions to go with and responsibilities, but it's your semi responsibility, so to say. But basically, you know, you go around, do your own thing, have a tea or from the kettle of the fire, and you just drink. You go check up on everyone, what they're doing, how are they, and one of the guys basically come up and tell you, we could do some meat, and you know. So this is the task that you kind of opened up for you. It is not a mandatory quest to do, right, guys? It's basically an optional choice. You can always do it whenever you want to, but it is your choice. Now, you go out and you can go hunting, right? So this is one out of things. You go out, you can take your bow and arrow and start to hunt for some deer, for example, or an elk. And so basically, you take the horse, and by the way, your horse is actually a necessary transport, due to the horse will be carrying most of your heavier and longer types of weaponry. You can have a revolver in your pocket or wherever, basically, and yeah, you go out there, you gotta take your bow and arrow, take it, and then you can go stealthily looking for the deer. As soon as you encounter, perhaps you will encounter some like smaller animals, for example, like a rabbit. Kill the rabbit, skin him, and throw the whatever's left of him out to do anything for it anyway, and take the rabbit skin in your what's that, man bag or whatever it is. Basically, you put it in, right? You wrap it around. It does not rot, and yes, the rotting is in this game. So, before I get into the rotten mechanics of how it works, the details for that, basically, as you continue on your adventure and you're trying to find a deer or an elk or whatever, right, you maybe find one. So, one of the encounters that has been explained, for example, you whistle, you attract the, deer's attention, he looks up and looks around, you shoot your bow right at him, her, whatever. He's escaping. Obviously, that's what they do. You follow his tracks by the blood, and you encounter. You can see the deer is limping, and he's devastated. Pretty much, the deer is going to die, making those sorts of noises that will be stuck in your head forever, most likely. And yeah, you do your own finishing blow, and you kill him, and you will have some options to go through. For example, is kill the deer and skin him, right? That's one of the options. Second option is pretty much take the full deer on back of your horse, put him there, and go into the nearest town, sell it, and you can get all the cash for yourself. That's kind of a greedy way, but you have another option, is going to the camp of your own camp and pretty much feeding your own community. Now, another thing is actually, if you keep the deer, for example, for too long, 5-6 days, on the back of your horse, this is not a good idea, because number one, it will start to rot. Number two, it will you will not be able to sell it as much as a fresh kill, basically. But also this will attract predators' attention. For example, eagles, some other wild animals will be attracted into the scent, the attention, the smell. And obviously it's pretty awesome, and you kind of have to think about getting rid of it, because rotten flesh, nobody wants that. Now, the world itself and the cities that you can explore, and the area itself, basically there's a variety of different ones. One of the snowy places, others has full of swamp, and the other is obviously the cities, where most of the people are going to be at. Obviously, all the good and stuff that you can rob is probably most likely is from the city, but the beauty of all those sections that you can explore and look through is pretty phenomenal. Now, I completely forgot to mention as well about the hunting section. Basically, if you use any other weaponry instead of the bow and arrow, you're going to have a lot more damage to your meat and your pretty much rewards or your trophies, so to say. Basically, if you use a shotgun, pellets are going to be everywhere. Holes in the deer, for example, is going to be everywhere. It's going to be problematic even to sell the damn thing. So it's going to be a lot more cheaper you're going to have to sell the damn thing for. But anyway, obviously, if you use a bow and arrow, there's just going to be one clean hit, kill, and yes, you can actually sell it for a lot greater price. And obviously, you're going to have more meat for yourself and for the community anyway. Now, let's get into a more interesting section of this, pretty much of the game. Basically, is your companion. The very trusty companion, well, obviously, it's got to be your horse. Now, if you are going to be playing this game, you're going to be always sticking around with one type of horse, right? It's going to be your horse and your horse only. Now, unless he dies. Now, let me get into that. There's a section in the game, pretty much there's a trust meter, right? The higher it goes, it can go all the way to the max out. Like, as soon as you max it out, the horse will trust you. What does that mean? Firstly, let's say there's a gunfight going on. So most of the horses will be frightened and just simply run away and will never listen to any commands you say. That happens only if you have barely any, trust meter with this horse, the bond anyway. But if your bond is really high up there and it's maxed out, basically you can go in, you can go through those gunfires, or you can even, shoot your, perhaps your revolver from the top of the horse and basically shoot all the guys blazing down and stuff, right? The horse will trust you at this moments and these situations. Now, the horse will die, your horse will die. Yes, you will pretty much have to go with the new horse, completely new horse, and this means a full trust meter will be pretty much reset, unfortunately. So it's in your best attention that you take care of this horse and make sure that he or she does not die. You can actually save the horse if he's dying. That's been already said about anyway. Basically, you don't have your medical stuff for the horse. Basically, you can run up to the town, come back, and then try to save him. And some moments he would die, sometimes he wouldn't, and it's in your best interest to actually keep your own horse alive. So yeah, also another thing is, probably have mentioned this, that your horse actually carries most of your weaponry and stuff in your kills, basically, the rewards, the bounties, everything, right? It's like a car, but alive, so to say. But basically, it's in your best interest to keep your horse right beside you all the time, most of the time. And obviously, if it's in danger of that you'll be encountering the firefights or something, well, obviously you want to keep the horse as far away from you as possible, but not too far so he can actually hear you whistle. And another thing I should mention, that if you have a brand new horse that barely has any trust meter, your circle of the area where you can whistle so he can hear you is going to be a lot lower, a lot less. And the bigger the trust, the bigger the circle you can whistle to the horse so he comes to you. So it doesn't randomly magically appear out of nowhere like every other game out there that pretty much, what the hell, how did this horse come from there? Like The Witcher 3 or the Red Dead Redemption 1, in fact. And yeah, the horse come out just out of nowhere, like Assassin's Creed Origins as well. It's just, magic. But this time around, the horse is actually, it's like a part of the world, and it actually is there. Any encounter, any places you go, you can see him somewhere. Wherever you left him, he's going to be there, perhaps. Anyway, it's a little bit of speculation as well, right there. I included. Now, another thing been talked about is the robbery. So there's been a nearby town of the Valentine. Basically, it's not very big heist or anything like that, but for a gang, your own gang is pretty much getting ready in the evening time, and the tension is there, right? Something is happening, something's different. The opera music has been played and stuff, and it's pretty interesting to find out more, obviously, about this. But anyway, So in the next morning, basically, you and a group of gang, basically, you ride out, and nearby, you're looking at the intersection, and basically there's a woman in your party. Basically, she gives you a choice and an option going as a, she gave you a section actually right in front of your screen. You can choose. One of them is being damsel in distress, or maybe just drunk women. And so you let her go, you make your own choice, and obviously you give her a little bit of time, but soon after you storm blazing right into the front main door, and you take care of everyone. I'm not too sure if you can kill everyone or not, but anyway, at some point there's a bank manager. You can intimidate him by opening the vault door, and obviously you can keep intimidating, obviously you can, and after you have a choice of killing him or keeping him alive. So but soon after, you come to realization, perhaps you even knew, there's going to be safes, and they're locked as well. So you have options pretty much. Not too sure, but I think it's lock picking or anything, and the other option is pretty much bombing the damn thing. Not a whole place, but have small bombs to open them. So you plant the bomb. The option has been chosen as the planting the bombs, very little bombs on the safes, the locks, and you can kind of see as a chain reaction of the bombs that happens. It's pretty cool. And it blows up, and you open up the safes, you take the cash, and you have all the cash. So you start going outside, and obviously what you expect, sheriff and the partners of these basically are trying to stop us. We're going guns blazing, and obviously we make our own escapes. And at some point, a gunshot has been fired and has shot out our hat, and that kind of sucks. Rockstar also has mentioned that you can come back and pick up your own hat at the in the future, obviously, or you can completely leave it there. So pretty much you can have your own hat. You can choose to leave it there, get a new hat, or come back to the same old hat, and come back to it, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I don't think I would come back for a hat, because I'm pretty sure if they shut up my hat, wouldn't they be able to see my eyes and my hair and stuff? I know you have like a handkerchief basically over your face, like a bandana type, and so you could be covering your face, but what about the top? It's interesting. And plus, why would you actually make sense? What if it's random stranger just picks up the hat randomly and goes with it, whatever. A lot of people could suspect it, but also, nah, probably that day, I don't think so. Anyway, well, that's all there is to it, I think so. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening. Yes, I do know this is taken mostly from the IGN show. I'm not going to deny that. You can tell me all you want in the comments. I want to make my own take on this, and I'm pretty damn excited. So far, I have no idea how the hell that Rockstar manages to do this. So many other games just cannot do this sort of thing, but Rockstar, I mean, they make such a great, interesting concepts to these sort of games that you can pretty much never really expect. Like, I never expected I could take a deer and put it on the back of your horse and go and sell it. I did not expect that. It's simple. Yes, it is. But few minds can actually think of something these sort of things, right? You need some time, obviously. Take a rabbit, put it on the back of your horse and stuff, or somehow attach him, or tie him up. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, well, I think that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching. We're gonna have another video coming up Friday, Saturday, I'm not too sure, but anyway, I'm not gonna make any promises. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day, and peace out.